You see the little shit going. That's a video.
What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning David Haye. David Haye says that Oleksandr Usyk will completely dominate Anthony Joshua. He says Anthony Joshua's style is tailor-made for Oleksandr Usyk. Well, let's first say this. David Haye was a great cruiserweight to heavyweight champion himself. He had a unique style about him. He was fast, he was quick, he had the power with it. He had the, the personality. And he went in and totally got overshadowed and dreams crushed and ran over by Klitschko. Okay, he didn't want any of Klitschko. Why? Because of his size. Why are we talking about David Haye? Because David Haye was in the similar situation as Oleksandr Usyk is now. Okay, Oleksandr Usyk is a cruiserweight champion, or should I say the former undisputed cruiserweight champion that is moving up in weight. He's fought Chaz Witherspoon, which was a replacement to Tyrone Spong. Okay, and he, as of right now, hasn't really been tested. Now, to qualify David Haye, he may be absolutely right, because of how Anthony Joshua fights. Now, had this been the Joshua of pre-Ruiz 2, okay? So if this was between his loss, when he took his first L and someone that would have said, oh, Oleksandr Usyk would dominate Anthony Joshua, I could see how that, saying that at that time could be convenient. But I'm not so sure after seeing Joshua in the Ruiz rematch. Because you could tell he was able to switch up styles. He was able to do a lot more. He was able to move himself. And don't get it twisted. Anthony Joshua is a guy that studies his opponent. He's not a guy that goes in, well, normally, okay? Because I know for a fact he didn't study Andy Ruiz enough, to say the least, okay? But he normally studies, especially if that's a projected fighter that he knows, that's on the books, that they have the blueprint, they have the project, the strategy up. They know who they're going to fight. He knows he's going to be studying that guy. And one thing about Oleksandr Usyk, his style is unorthodox. He's a southpaw. It's very interesting to see Anthony Joshua fight a southpaw. But me counterpunching that, Oleksandr Usyk could do exactly what David Haye said. Can David Haye be wrong? Of course he can. He admitted he was wrong with the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder prediction. Okay, this is another prediction, But I would say don't count David Haye out based on what he was saying because of the styles, Now, had he said, oh, man, Oleksandr Usyk will beat Anthony Joshua because Anthony Joshua is not that good enough. He's just not that good. Okay, that's biased because you didn't give a reason why. You just said he's not that good. That's more like hating or trash talk to me. But he said because of the styles is tailor-made for Joshua. He's a shorter guy. He's a, 6'3", 6'4"? Usyk's 6'4"? Joshua's 6'6". So he has the height advantage, definitely. But he's fighting, yet again, a shorter guy. Not as short as Ruiz, okay, but shorter. But taller, sorry. But one thing I might add, Oleksandr Usyk has to get past Chisora before we can make an evaluation of anything of the sort. We have to see what type of punch does he really have to a heavyweight that's like a bull, like Chisora. So they're not saying you have to knock out a fighter to beat a fighter. He didn't say he was going to destroy Anthony Joshua. He said he's going to dominate Anthony Joshua. Now, unbiasedly, does that sound like it's too far off the rocker? No, it doesn't. Because a guy like Usyk, it's premature, but a guy like Usyk is a guy that can adapt, and he does his own sense of studying. Okay? And Andre Ward was a guy that also wanted to fight Anthony Joshua because of his style, along with Andy Ruiz. Okay? Both of those guys wanted that fight because they knew, man, I'd rather fight this guy instead of the other two. You know what I mean? So it was one of those situations where those guys wanted it. David Hayes predicting that Oleksandr Usyk will dominate Anthony Joshua. And again, I can understand him saying that if this was after the first loss that he's taken in his career to Andy Ruiz due to the way he fought. But I can't say that. I'm not 100% sure after that, because Anthony Joshua knows he's going to have to move, and he knows he's going to be in there with somebody quicker. And the perfect punch in the heavyweight division is all you need, you know, and I think Joshua will be aware of that. You know, I look at Joshua now no different than I looked at Marco Antonio Barrera. Okay. If you guys don't know Marco Antonio Barrera, he's a legend. He's a Mexican legend. He was one of my favorite fighters, especially in the lower weight classes. Marco Antonio Barrera was, I believe, 45-0. Okay, I could be wrong, but he was undefeated when he was knocked out by Junior Jones. Okay? Junior Jones was was the champ. He knocked him out with a right hand. Why? Because Marco Antonio Barrera used to be a body puncher. He was a tree chopper. He liked to work the body. The left hook was immaculate. He dropped a lot of guys with that left hook. It was a beautiful thing to see. I used to love to see him fight. He loved to scrap. He loved to get it on. And Marco Antonio Barrera found out that night that he was not invincible. So he was knocked out the first fight. He fought him in a rematch, and I think that was actually a close fight. But Junior Jones won that by decision, okay? After that, everybody wrote him off. Everybody did, okay? This is a backstory. After that, he reinvented himself. People thought, oh, man, because Eric Morales was the guy, okay? If you guys know Eric Morales, he was also, you know, they call him El Terrible. And he was that guy that was beating everybody. He was the next Oscar De La Hoya, another barbarian fighter, okay? He's training someone right now. I forget who that is. But anyway, it fleeted me. But he was a guy that knocked out Junior Jones, okay? And everyone would just assume that that Eric Morales was going to just destroy Marco Antonio Barrera, but people really overlooked Marco Antonio Barrera's fighting ability. He had to reinvent himself. He had to learn defense. He learned that, you know, I can get knocked out. He was conscious of this, and he went on to defeat Eric Morales. Eric Morales won a close decision the first time. Barrera won the next two. Okay, now. They both got shut out by Pacquiao, by the way, but those were good fights also. But the thing I'm trying to make, if you reference that to Anthony Joshua finds out, he knows now, I can be hurt. Somebody can hurt me with a punch that I don't see. I think he's going to be more cognitive. He's going to be more defensive with his punches. Not saying if he doesn't get you hurt, he's going to be tentative, but I think instinctively he will be, you know. But again, we're talking about a fighter that's a cruiserweight coming up to a heavyweight, but started at heavyweight as an amateur. So we can't forget that. So he's not too far off the beaten path. But To say he'll just run through or dominate Anthony Joshua, yes, does he have the boxing IQ to? Yes, he does. He does have the boxing IQ. He does have that. But will that happen? Who knows? Because that's such a premature statement for David Haye to say at this point, because we don't know what he's going to do with Chisora. You know, that's his fighter. You know, and if anything, he should be talking about Chisora and what Chisora could do to Oleksandr Usyk, or what Oleksandr Usyk could do to Chisora, rather than looking too far down the road to Joshua. But I know that's where the money is, so it's good to plant that seed in the ground to get that out there, just in case, you know, his fighter does get beat by Oleksandr Usyk, so they can set up a possible fight with Anthony Joshua later on if a Joshua gets past Pulev. Okay, so it is an interesting theory. But I think that size matters in this situation, and we will learn how size will matter once Oleksandr Usyk rises to that next level, okay, like he's doing. So we will see a lot of things will be answered. So then we can know about, you know, a possible barometer of what Usyk could do to someone bigger and taller like Anthony Joshua. But it is interesting, to say the least. You guys tell me what you think about Oleksandr Usyk dominating Anthony Joshua. Does David Haye have a point? Is he at something? Is he reaching a little bit? You guys let me know. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.